Hello Midnights. Thank you for tuning in. Up next, the myth of the Slender Man. Let us know where you are listening from and don't forget to subscribe. The Slender Man, a tall, gaunt, faceless figure in a black suit, has seeped into the collective consciousness as a modern boogeyman, embodying our primal fears of the unknown and the uncanny. These primal fears stem from humanity's deep-seated anxieties about what cannot be seen, fully understood, or controlled, ancient anxieties about the wilderness, unseen forces, or predators lurking just beyond perception. Unlike ancient folklore or traditional urban legends, the Slender Man is a meticulously documented case study in the rapid genesis and propagation of a contemporary myth, born from the nascent internet and flourishing in the fertile ground of collaborative storytelling. Its profound impact lies not just in its terrifying imagery, but in its ability to blur the lines between fiction and reality, influencing real-world events and raising critical questions about the nature of belief in the digital age. The myth's origin is remarkably precise, dating back to June 10, 2009. It began on the popular internet forum Something Awful, specifically within a thread titled Create Paranormal Images. The premise of the contest was for users to take ordinary photographs and manipulate them to make them appear creepy or supernatural, then add a fictional backstory or caption to make them seem authentic. It was here that a user named Eric Knudsen, operating under the pseudonym Victor Surge, submitted 2 black and white photographs. These images were subtly altered to include a towering, impossibly thin, faceless figure dressed in a dark suit, often with long, tentacle-like appendages. The accompanying cryptic captions, such as "We didn't want to go, we didn't want to kill them, but its persistent silence and outstretched arms horrified and comforted us at the same time." And one of 2 photographs recovered from the site of the fire at Sterling City Library. Notable for being taken the day 42 children disappeared from a town and for what is referred to as the Slender Man, hinted at a sinister entity preying on children. Surge's creation, with its unsettling visual simplicity, ambiguous threat, and seemingly historical evidence, immediately resonated with other users. The initial lore was sparse but potent. The figure stalked children, appeared ominously in forests and abandoned places, and was associated with disappearances and a psychological deterioration, including psychosis and paranoia, in its victims. What distinguished Slender Man from fleeting internet fads was its rapid transformation from a simple image macro into a complex, evolving narrative. This was largely due to its nature as a creepypasta, a portmanteau of creepy and copypasta, internet slang for blocks of text copied and pasted across websites. These are typically short, user-generated horror stories designed to be shared virally. The Slender Man myth exemplifies the power of internet folklore and participatory culture. Unlike traditional urban legends passed down orally, internet myths can be collaboratively built upon, documented, and debated in real time by a vast, distributed audience. Folklorist Lynn S. McNeil notes that Slender Man qualifies as folklore because the stories, the beliefs, the images, all of these cultural artifacts, are circulating entirely in a word-of-mouth culture, person to person, adding that it jumped off the screen and into our lives in this very interesting, different way. This open-source nature allowed countless individuals to contribute, signifying a distributed authorship where there is no single, authoritative creator or central canon, allowing the narrative to be fluid, constantly adapted, and owned by the community rather than an individual. Each contributor added layers to its mythology through new sightings, fabricated documents, mockumentaries, and even fictional case files that quickly proliferated across forums, YouTube, and dedicated wikis. This created a self-sustaining feedback loop, where new stories, images, and videos generated by fans not only expand the lore but also reinforce its perceived realism and attract new contributors, fueling its continuous evolution. Indeed, as early as 5 months after its creation, radio call-in shows devoted to the paranormal were already receiving inquiries about the Slender Man, and 2 years later, its origins were still described as difficult to pinpoint, despite its clear digital birth. Creator Eric Knudsen himself noted that many people, despite knowing its Something Awful origins, still entertained the possibility of its reality, underscoring the myth's power to blur the lines between fiction and fact. The Slender Man's power derives from its liminal nature and its effective exploitation of fundamental human fears. It possesses no explicit motivations, no clear methods, and no discernible face, rendering it an existential void onto which fears can be projected. Its blank visage is perhaps its most terrifying attribute. Devoid of expression, it cannot be reasoned with, understood, or empathized with, mirroring the cold indifference of cosmic horror, a genre of horror fiction characterized by the insignificance of humanity in the face of vast, alien entities or forces. This facelessness and unnatural appearance tap into the psychology of the uncanny, the unsettling feeling evoked by something that is familiar yet subtly wrong or not quite human. As scholar Shira Chess describes, the Slender Man functions as a metaphor for helplessness, power differentials, and anonymous forces. Andrew Peck also sees parallels between the Slender Man and common anxieties about the digital age, such as feelings of constant connectedness and unknown third-party observation. Troy Wagner, creator of the popular Marble Hornets series, attributes the terror of the Slender Man to its malleability. People can shape it into whatever frightens them most. The concept of proxies, individuals driven to madness and forced to serve the Slender Man, further complicates the narrative, suggesting an insidious, viral influence that can corrupt even the innocent. This element taps into anxieties about control, mental health, and the erosion of personal agency. In this sense, the Slender Man myth functions as a digital Rorschach test. Its ambiguous, faceless form acts as a blank canvas onto which individuals and cultures project their deepest, often unspoken, fears and anxieties, making it a mirror reflecting the collective psyche of the digital age. Beyond the internet, the Slender Man myth achieved unprecedented cultural penetration, moving from niche forums to mainstream media. Video games like Slender, The 8 Pages, 2012, and Slender, The Arrival, 2013, brought the experience of being hunted by the entity directly to players, immersing them in the dread. Slender, The Arrival alone is estimated to have garnered hundreds of thousands to over 1 million owners on Steam, with estimated total revenues reaching approximately $2.9 million, backed by an 88.19% positive review rate. Similarly, the popular YouTube series Marble Hornets, which featured the Slender Man, known as The Operator, amassed over 65 million views across its 77 episodes, further demonstrating the myth's wide reach and appeal. Films, documentaries, and even merchandise followed, solidifying its place in popular culture. The global spread of the Slender Man highlights how a digitally born myth can be interpreted through diverse cultural and background lenses. In cultures with strong oral storytelling traditions, the Slender Man's rapid, documented genesis might be a point of fascination, yet its collaborative and evolving narrative could resonate with the dynamic nature of their own folklore. While it lacks the ancient roots of traditional boogeymen, its universal themes of unknown danger and vulnerability allow it to be assimilated. Societies with a more integrated view of the supernatural might fit the Slender Man into existing frameworks of malevolent spirits, with slender sickness akin to spiritual afflictions. Conversely, cultures undergoing rapid digitalization might see the myth as a stark cautionary tale about the internet's dual nature, a tool for creativity and connection, but also a conduit for fear and misinformation. The core fears it embodies, such as surveillance or threats to children, can resonate differently depending on a culture's specific anxieties, with a pervasive, observing figure perhaps reflecting deeper societal concerns about control in some contexts. Ultimately, the internet's borderless nature allows these varied interpretations to coexist, weaving the Slender Man into a complex global tapestry of fear. This contemporary myth is also deeply rooted in historical patterns of fear and storytelling. The Slender Man's very essence echoes ancient folklore, as folklorist Shira Chess highlights. Its characteristics are strikingly similar to old European legends of fairies or changelings, entities that are otherworldly, possess ambiguous motives, and are known for abducting children. Much like the Pied Piper of Hamelin or the historical accounts tied to changeling folklore, the Slender Man taps into deeply ingrained anxieties about vulnerable youth and inexplicable disappearances, making it a modern manifestation of the timeless boogeyman. Furthermore, its rapid spread through digital channels is a continuation of how urban legends have always evolved. Historically, tales spread through oral transmission via friend-of-a-friend networks. With the advent of new media, from printed broadsides to radio dramas and television, the speed and reach of these narratives expanded. The internet, as the latest technological leap, has simply accelerated this process, enabling instantaneous global dissemination and collaborative development, demonstrating a continuous historical relationship between technological change and myth-making. However, this proliferation also led to tragic consequences, most notably the 2014 Waukesha, Wisconsin, stabbing incident. Two 12-year-old girls lured a friend into the woods and stabbed her 19 times, claiming they did so to appease the Slender Man and protect their families from him. This event sent shockwaves through society, forcing a re-evaluation of the boundaries between online fiction and real-world impact, and sparking debates about parental oversight, media literacy, and the psychological vulnerability of adolescents. This vulnerability in adolescence is often attributed to their developing critical thinking skills, increased susceptibility to peer influence, and ongoing identity formation, making them particularly susceptible to immersive narratives. The blurring of lines between fiction and reality is significantly facilitated by the internet's capacity for creating highly realistic hoaxes, the ease of sharing found footage-style content, and the absence of traditional editorial gatekeepers that would typically vet information. The public and media reaction to this tragedy also mirrored historical trends, igniting moral panics, societal anxieties amplified by media coverage around a perceived threat. Similar panics have historically surrounded new forms of media, such as accusations against comic books in the 1940s and 50s for promoting delinquency, concerns about rock and roll music in the 1950s, and widespread fears about the violent influence of video games. Even in the UK, the video nasties panic of the early 1980s saw intense public outcry and censorship efforts against horror films on VHS tapes, demonstrating a recurring pattern where new media become scapegoats for complex social issues. The Slender Man phenomenon offers a compelling opportunity for cohesive learning across various disciplines. From a sociological perspective, it underscores the enduring human need for narrative and the profound impact of collective belief, especially when amplified by digital platforms. Psychologically, it illuminates how shared anxieties and the malleability of a myth can influence perception and, in extreme cases, behavior. From media studies, it provides a vivid case study of how online participatory culture can democratize storytelling while simultaneously raising ethical questions about accountability in a decentralized creative environment. Historically, it reminds us that fears surrounding new technologies and their cultural output are not new, but rather a recurring societal pattern that requires careful analysis rather than immediate condemnation. Ultimately, the Slender Man challenges us to critically examine the narratives we consume, the power of communal imagination, and the ever-evolving relationship between digital spaces and human reality. In conclusion, the myth of the Slender Man stands as a profound testament to the power of collective imagination and the unique dynamics of digital folklore. From a humble Photoshop contest, it evolved into a global phenomenon, captivating audiences with its minimalistic horror and adaptable lore. Its enduring legacy is not just its chilling imagery or its influence on contemporary horror, but its profound capacity to reflect and amplify societal anxieties about the digital realm, the fragile line between fantasy and reality, and the enduring human fascination with the unfathomable darkness that may lurk just beyond our perception. The Slender Man reminds us that myths are not static relics of the past, but living entities, continuously reshaped and imbued with new meaning by the very societies that create them.